a playlist original.
All right, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Back to the Blockbuster with your host Case and Jackson. Little mini, special mini episode for you, the Oscar nominations that came out today. As of this recording, it was a big day for the film industry. Some people woke up happy, some people woke up to no phone calls at all because they weren't nominated.
Slept in peacefully.
Slept in peacefully.
Yeah.
But it's always a fun day for cinephiles because there's a lot of even fans of movies are really happy today, and then there's some that are really upset, and
and a lot of places in between.
Yeah, a lot of opinions today. But I was up bright early at 5 a.m. to watch them live, and you're lucky.
I was already at work. I had my it was like 9 o'clock, and I had my phone open and an AirPod in. I was doing my work, but I was like more definitely dialed into my phone, watching them live. And I remember a coworker was like having a brief. She was like asking me a question, and I was like not paying attention at all. I think I had a blank expression on my face as I was listening to the commentary of the nominees being announced. And actually, this is my first time ever watching them broadcast live, the nominations. I've only ever seen them when they were posted online by like various news outlets. So this was a first for me, and I thought, instantly, A, I don't know why I didn't do this sooner, and B, this will be something I do every year, definitely going forth.
Well, it's especially good for you because it's not at the crack of dawn, so it's good for
that's right.
You. For me, it was like 5:30. Which was fine. I was tired, but once they started, I was like, oh, okay, this is good.
Yeah.
It was like, it was, fun to watch and trying to see like, oh, who is, every time there was a certain name or movie that was coming up, I was like, oh, I haven't heard so-and-so's name, or I haven't heard that movie.
It's fun going along with it and being like, once like the ones that they led with like a name that you wouldn't have expected there, then the rest of that category, you're thinking, oh, who's not making it? And that was a lot of fun. Yeah. I was like, although I had to keep myself composed because I was standing up in the middle of my workplace, I was like in my head, I was like freaking out for a couple of them. It was hard to keep my composure. I was like, oh my God.
Anyone looking at you like, what are
that's you right. Because no one literally knew what I was doing. It was pretty quiet first thing in the morning at work. So like I wasn't broadcasting that I was listening to the Oscar nominations. What are your thoughts overall, positive or negative? Like without getting too into detail, we'll have plenty of time to do that. But how do you think about the ceremony overall?
I thought they were like mostly good. They were kind of like in line with like what we've been seeing like all award season.
Surprisingly accurate for the most part.
Yeah, especially the whole like best picture category. I was like, oh, that looks
exactly no surprises there for sure.
There was no major surprises there at all, and I think you've had a clear favorite for a bit. Like Oppenheimer was like has been your clear favorite, and that showed up pretty well. I mean, all the major ones showed up pretty well with the amount of nominations that they got. Now there's this more specific about which ones were excluded from certain categories, and
definitely
we'll probably talk about that.
There's a lot more examples than I would have thought once you start stacking them up. But like, yeah, just to your point, I honestly I knew this movie Oppenheimer was going to do great at the Oscars. I don't know that I necessarily thought it would lead with the amount that it is leading by. I got 13 total nominations across all the major categories.
Yes.
4 Things at 11. I guess I'm not too surprised at that, but I don't know that I would have thought it would be that close to Killers of the Flower Moon right behind it with 10. And Barbie, a big surprise for me too. I thought it would have been more of a rival with Oppenheimer, but it came in with 8 total nominations to Oppenheimer's 13. And I genuinely was surprised. I thought there'd be a little bit tighter, closer in number, but yeah.
And I guess just to, Oppenheimer got 13, and it's in the company of a few other movies that have received 13 nominations, and that's Gone with the Wind, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, Mary Poppins, The Shape of Water, Forrest Gump, From Here to Eternity, Chicago, Shakespeare in Love, In the Curious Case of Benjamin Button. They all have received 13 nominations.
A lot of winners, best picture winners amongst those that you just named. Also, Benjamin Button got 13 nominations.
I didn't even know that. I'm like reading that. I'm like, oh, really?
Cherish that movie. It's one of my favorite Fincher movies. I haven't seen it in too long, and I just did not know it was that. It got that much love.
I think it's probably for me one of his most underrated ones.
Yeah, I agree.
Of his mainstream ones that people still like. It's not like Alien 3 where you forget about.
Yeah,
that was even made.
That's a great point.
But yeah, I didn't even know it got 13 nominations, and I haven't watched it in forever.
I don't think it won much, if any. I can't recall off the top of my head.
I don't think it did either. Yeah, But yeah, I would, Poor Things with 11, Killers of the Flower Moon with 10, Barbie with 8. You're right. I thought that, Barbie would have pulled in a bit more, but 8 nominations is nothing to sneeze at
that's
either.
Quite impressive for sure.
Yeah. But there, when we get to the categories, we can say where there's some disdain there. But I guess we can start. Actually, for you, because you started on the show last year in the middle of award season.
That's right.
And with this one, you've been on a full year, and you've got to watch it from start.
Yes.
To where things are like, oh, this is where they're starting. These movies are coming out. Barbie and Oppenheimer came out in July, and Past Lives has kind of been in the conversation even longer than that, as this like kind of smaller movie that people like. But now you've gotten to see it from the start all the way up till now. So I know you followed the Oscars before, but like, what was it like to kind of like watch this all play out through all these other precursor?
That was a lot of fun. That's right. This is the first time I've really followed the awards season further beyond than just the Golden Globes and then the Oscars. Those were always the two shows that I really bothered tuning into. But it's been fun to like kind of follow a lot of the nominees amongst other award shows and to see the differences between the various shows. Like the BAFTAs gave a lot of love to a lot of movies that were not shown that same love from the Academy, like Saltburn being a major one. So it's nice to like follow and like see a lot of these movies that I loved from 2023 get recognized from other awards shows, which was cool. But I gotta say, like, this is definitely the creme de la creme. I look forward to the Oscars more than anything else, and it's kind of like a Christmas morning sort of thing, more so the ceremony. But the nominations are a great lead up to that, so it felt like we're in the home stretch of award season now. This is what I've really been waiting for. But it was a lot of fun getting to know award season from a different perspective this year, for sure. And I'm glad. I don't know if I would have done that otherwise. So like, got to thank the show for giving me that reason. But it's been a lot of fun. What did you think overall about this award season? I know we're not done yet, but we're in the home stretch.
It's been kind of fun that at first it seemed like it started out where like, oh, I feel like there's clear front runners and stuff. And now I don't really necessarily think that, but like, I guess the group of movies has all been kind of what we thought they would be from the start. Now there were some like snubs for different reasons, like that. Not even like there are certain movies that didn't even get nominations at the Oscars this year, and there's reasons why people think they were snubbed, and I talk about that a little bit. But for the most part, I can't have any qualms that like a couple of favorites weren't.
Yeah, I mean,
like, acknowledged.
It's going to happen every year.
Yeah, someone's not going to get invited to the party, and that's right. just how it is.
I think looking at this now and considering the movies in many categories that didn't get any recognition, it was a strong year. That's the lesson that I got out of nomination day. 2023 was a strong year for film. A lot of awesome movies recognized, and like they got, I think, where they belong, they got the proper recognition, but that meant that a lot of great movies also just couldn't squeeze in there. And ultimately that means we just had a lot of great offerings from 2023.
Yeah.
That's my consensus.
Like a really stacked year.
Yeah, exactly. Which is a good thing.
A good problem to have. I would agree.
All right. Do you want to kick it off with Best Picture?
Yeah, I will kick it off with Best Picture. So your nominees are American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest.
How many of those have you seen as of now?
So I might be easier to do it this way. I haven't seen Zone of Interest, Past Lives, and where's the other one at? Oh, that might be it.
Poor Things? Have you seen Poor Things?
No, Poor Things. So 3. Poor Things, Zone of Interest, and Past Lives. I could have watched Zone of Interest a bit ago. I had it, and then someone else was like, that works at the outlet that I work at, was like, can I watch it if we can only use like one of the things at a time, which is why I gave it to that person, and because I didn't have time to watch it. And now I know you want to see it, so I know I'm trying to get that back. And I'm trying to get that back so I can so both of us can see it at some point.
Right.
And Poor Things is finally playing somewhere close to me, so I will try to see that this weekend.
So it had a limited release in 2023 then, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's in a neighboring city an hour away from here, but it's not in Fredericton yet. And I have to pay attention to see if it's coming, because I would make that hour trip just to see it in theaters. I really want to. Poor Things is one of the 4 Best Picture nominees I have not seen yet, along with American Fiction. The Zone of Interest,
really
as you mentioned.
Good. American Fiction was so much fun.
I'm looking forward to it, especially after all the love I got today. And then Barbie, which is, like I've said in our last episode and to you offline, one of my imminent watches. I wish that I decided to get it in today before we film this, but I went with Past Lives instead, which I'm really glad to have seen, and you're going to love it, I know. But this will be probably the first year I get all the nominees for Best Picture in too. I usually get 8 or 9, but I'm going for all of them this year.
What I want to point out, because I want to point out something positive instead of the negative. I believe out of 1, 2, I think there's 6. So Anatomy of Fall, Barbie, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things. They all have female producers in their ranks. So I believe, as far as that many nominations with having a female producer attack, that might be some kind of record. And that is really good to see, because I know sometimes we talk about representation and who's not represented, and we had a lot of female power players that produce these movies. So you have like huge box office hits like Barbie and Oppenheimer, and also critical hits like Past Lives and Poor Things, and also just really interesting movies too, like Anatomy of Fall, and having that not all be a male field, even though there are other male producers in those that worked on those movies,
right?
That is a big number. I think that includes female producers. So that was something I want to point out that I noticed this morning.
You know what I'm noticing now, just looking at it, none of these movies in Best Picture are sequels, prequels, remakes, or anything of the sort. They're all pretty original movies. Some obviously adapted from properties like novels, and Barbie, for instance, off their IP, which even then I think is sort of frivolous. I think it's pretty original. So I'm really happy to see that, because it feels, and we've had this conversation before, like Hollywood is creatively bankrupt. We are, drowning in this sea of remakes, prequels, sequels. But when it comes to how they're represented by the Academy, the most prestigious awards show, they all are original movies, which is amazing to behold. To see. Yeah.
Yep. And this is kind of like the list we've been looking at. I believe this is pretty much similar to the Producers Guild list that we had. We talked about last week, the PGAs, which kind of mirrors the Best Picture nominees at the Oscars. I mean, this is pretty much where it was going to go. It seemed like all award season, so no surprises there. That might disappoint some, but I kind of like that. At least they're all, from what I know, from the ones I haven't seen, I've heard they're good, and the ones I have seen, I know are pretty good. There's one in there. Maestro might be one I would be like, I didn't love it, but
I'm with you, of the ones I've seen so far.
But still a solid group of movies, I would say.
Definitely. Even Maestro, like Best Picture aside, the other categories it's nominated in, I'm happy for it, and I agree that it earned its spot for the most part. But I want to move on to the next one, Best Directing category, which is a little bit a lot contentious, as we'll get into in a moment. But Anatomy of a Fall's director, Justine Triet, got in over, I guess I'll say that to the end. She's our first nominee. Martin Scorsese, of course, Killers of the Flower Moon. He becomes the most nominated living director for directing with 10 nominations.
Surpassed Spielberg,
Were they tied at 9 before this?
Yeah, they're tied at 9, yeah.
Nice. So good job for Marty. Christopher Nolan with his second directing nomination after Dunkirk for Oppenheimer. No surprise there. I think safe to say he's probably at least tied for the lead, if not slated to win. Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things. Very happy to see him up there. No surprise there. One that I am happy to see, not surprised necessarily, but wasn't sure on it, was Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest. Very happy to see his name amongst the nominees, but notably missing Greta Gerwig, not there for Barbie, and that has sort of taken film community by storm. Yeah, definitely.
So, like we mentioned offline, when they were like, well, who would you take out of this? I think it's rude to take someone out, right? So it's like they all deserve to be there. I can speculate on who got the spots, and I'm assuming it could be our girl Justine for Anatomy of Fall, and they probably were like, hey, we nominated a woman, so there you go. Don't be too upset. Or it could be Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest that
took Barbie's spot.
Took the spot.
Or Greta's.
This has been really contentious all day. There are a lot of people that were like, And even with another nomination, we'll talk about, or lack of a nomination in another category, they were like, how do you not acknowledge someone that directed this kind of like cultural phenomenon that kind of took the world by storm? And it was the highest grossing movie of 2023, and not just like a box office thing. It was critically lauded too. People liked it.
Yeah.
And I know one of the things I've seen pop up a lot today was this notion of like, hey, you did well. You kind of helped Hollywood with how well your movie did, but you just didn't do enough to make the cut. And that's the kind of the attitude that they kind of have about it. And it's very negative for people that support not only the movie but Greta Gerwig, who who's shown up all award season in this category for the most part. I kind of got the feeling toward like it could happen that she might get knocked out, because Variety put out that article right when award season voting was, or when Oscar voting was closing, and one of the guys anonymously said that it's a good movie, but it's just a Barbie movie, and kind of dumbed it down to its least common denominator, which is not true. It is, when you watch it, it's a lot more. It's like insanely commercial, but it's also really smart and satirical, and there's a lot. It has layers. It's not just one thing, and I don't think a lot of people could have successfully directed it the way that she did.
I'll be interested to see for myself for sure.
I think the idea here too is that they nominated her in another category. They're probably like, well, that was enough because she got a screenplay nomination, right? So I think that could be their mindset. But I also think they probably want to get the director of Anatomy of Fall in, or maybe Jonathan Glazer too, from Zone of Interest. There's also the notion too that the Academy is looking at Barbie as not a serious film, and kind of sliding it in that regard. But they did nominate for Best Picture too, which is also a double hit. It's like, oh, so the movie was good enough to get nominated for Best Picture. The screenplay was nominated too,
but you got double the Best Picture slots than you do for directing, right? Like
that's true.
That means half of them in there are going to be in the same boat.
I think I think Deadline, that was like, they're like, well, do they think that the movie directed itself? Because you could tell that Solo was really upset.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah.
So the main part of the discourse that I just have trouble ignoring and that I disagree with is like the commercial success from Barbie. Like I don't like, and that is great for the movie, of course, but I mean, I don't think that's not a component for exactly. Like, yeah, if by that metric, then Rise of Skywalker would be a Best Picture nominated or Best Directed nominated movie too, right? And that's just that's ridiculous to say. Exactly. So yeah, I agree with a lot of the points, and I guess I don't want to say too much because I don't really have a dog in this fight, having not seen Barbie, having no opinion on Greta Gerwig's direction in that movie. But when people bring up how well it did at the box office, I get its cultural significance, but at the end of the day, like the Academy members voted and it didn't land. And I don't know, there's some things that have been brought up that I just wanted to point out, but that is definitely going to be a category that I think a lot of eyes are going to be on, and will probably be talked about for the duration of the awards until March 10th and probably onward. And I think this puts a lot of a spotlight on Greta Gerwig going forward, whatever her next project ends up being. I feel like she's going to be coming for revenge. I haven't seen how she's responded personally to.
She hasn't said anything, and I think what can she say? I mean, her movie got nominated, and and then she's probably happy for all the people that worked on it, and she still got a nomination. She still got in the screenplay category. So I did put that poll up on my Instagram, and it's interesting because a lot of people voted yes, and I was surprised that they did. But it was that blurb from the Hollywood Reporter that said the optics of excluding Barbie's Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie, because she was excluded too, from the directing and lead actress categories, the women most responsible for a critically acclaimed film that became the biggest blockbuster of 2023 are not good. They're saying that is a really, basically Academy do better.
Well, here's the thing. It might be a hot take. It might be contentious. I don't even like the use of the word optics in that sentence. Like, I don't think that the Academy should be looking. I mean, that's not. It's obviously there should be recognition equally across, or not even like there's going to be categories that skew. I don't think race, gender, as long as they're not completely excluded, like that optics should be what we're nominating and giving recognition to movies for, but rather the quality and the content of those movies. So not to a point where I want to see it dominated by any particular, category of people, but just that optics isn't something that I'm looking at these for. And I know a lot of people feel that way too, but I agree. It's great that what Hollywood Reporter did with that article is they are definitely sowing discourse, which is naturally, and they're hitting the right spots. Stirring the pot. Exactly. It's a better way.
I will say what Ryan Gosling said, because he was nominated, which was fair. He mentioned being extremely honored to be nominated by his colleagues and all that stuff. But then he said, but there is no Ken without Barbie, and there is no Barbie movie without Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie, the two people most responsible for this history-making, globally celebrated film. No recognition would be possible for anyone on the film without their talent, grit, and genius. To say that I'm disappointed they are not nominated in their respective categories would be an understatement. Against all odds, with nothing but a couple of soulless, scantily clad, and thankfully crotchless dolls, they made us laugh, they broke our hearts, they pushed the culture, and they made history. Their work should be recognized along with the other very deserving nominees. So, I mean, that was a classic response from him.
Definitely. I think he made a lot of people happy with that. It kind of took... I don't think he could have said or done anything better than to recognize his nomination. So, good for Ryan. Classic nice guy, Ryan. Everyone loves him.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree. But that's not going to go away. Probably there'll probably be jokes from Jimmy. There'll probably be jokes from Jimmy Kimmel about this whole thing on the night of.
Probably some booze.
But I mean, I go back and forth about taking that. Because like I said, I was like, it feels weird that she's not there. But then I told you, some people were like, well, who'd you take out, man? I'm like, I don't really know. So it's probably rude to take someone out. So I know I saw some people say Scorsese. They were like, I feel like they just nominated because he's Scorsese at this point.
There's certainly somebody that's nominated for a different category that I feel that way for. We'll get to it a little bit.
Definitely. All right, so I guess I got Best Actor in a Leading Role. Yes. Bradley Cooper, Maestro, Coleman Domingo, Rustin, Paul Giamatti, The Holdovers, Cillian Murphy, Oppenheimer, Jeffrey Wright, American Fiction. That looks pretty much like it was supposed to look, I think.
That looks pretty good.
I
would have liked to see Barry Keoghan in there, though. I would have loved to see.
I would have liked to see that too. I know we talked a little bit about Zac Efron, and I know you were like, hey, the performance is good, and maybe they're just a sign of what he is. Could do next, and rather than nominating him, I will say I think A24 did drop the ball on campaigning for.
Can't argue that at all.
I don't know how. I really don't know why they did. I mean, it's confusing, and I don't get it. But
the only thing that I can think of, they still ended up with 2 movies in the Best Picture category that studio did. So maybe they just put more weight behind those movies, thinking that they would be more like Oscar darlings. But I think they had an absolute win on their hand with the Iron Claw. Maybe it just came down to too many movies. One of them had to take a back seat for when it came to promotion. But they could have definitely got some noms for that if they had released it at a different time. I completely agree.
If they were to release it earlier, and if they would have maybe had it have a festival run, I think it probably
festival run's a big part too. I haven't seen two of those performances though, so I don't know who I removed.
I can't really say anything bad about this. So it was and by the way, Bradley Cooper gets 3 nominations today in the actor category as a producer on Maestro for Best Picture and the film's screenplay. I did not realize that he wrote it.
Co-wrote it, I think.
Co-wrote it. Yeah, so he got 3 nominations today. Not one in directing. I guess that's another stub. He really put his heart and soul into it, and you can tell that he really wanted it. Other people thought he's chasing it, which kind of turns them off. But
I get that vibe. I saw Maestro last week, and I really enjoyed Maestro, but I don't think it's without its flaws, and for that reason, I'm not that upset that he's not in there. But again, got to see a couple more of those nominees before I can really make up my full mind on it. But next category, we have Best Actress in a Leading Role. Starting off with Annette Bening, who I think was a big surprise for a lot of people for her movie Naiad. Lily Gladstone, Killers of the Flower Moon, becomes the first Native American actress to be nominated. I think just nominated in general, or is it leading actress?
I think it might be. Yeah, that's really good too.
Great for her. Sandra Hüller, Anatomy of a Fall, Carey Mulligan from Maestro, and Emma Stone from Poor Things. Cannot wait to see Emma Stone's performance in Poor Things.
So I guess this all looks like how it's supposed to look, but there's no Margot Robbie for Barbie. And the same argument that they were pushing for Greta Gerwig is the same argument that's being pushed for Margot Robbie.
I think the argument's stronger for Greta, though. I think Margot was there for a lot of the different award ceremonies, though, wasn't she? But not.
She was. She was nominated for a lot of. She was nominated for a lot of the precursors. And I think what people are saying is that her role in the movie, she has to go through a lot of stuff, but she plays mostly the straight person compared to like Ryan Gosling's Ken, who is more outrageous. She's funny and she has like some stuff that's, and she gets to dive into different emotions and stuff, but it's mostly a pretty straight performance, and it probably to most people looks like it's kind of easy, but it really isn't. I mean, there is a clear arc for her by the end of the movie, and there are people, because the supporting people got nominated, and they're like, well, they don't get that without her. They kind of feed off of like what they're getting from her to enhance their performances, and I kind of understand that point. But again, I'm assuming it's a net bending here, or Sandra Hiller for Anatomy of Fall, and I'm going to go with a net bending because that made a lot of people. I made a lot of people mad too, because there's a lot of people like, who the fuck's seen that movie? Also not fair, I guess, because it's just because we haven't put the time in to see it doesn't mean that it's not worthy.
Exactly.
Right?
That again has no correlation. Of the 3 of those nominations or performances I've seen, I agree with all of them being there. And obviously, I haven't seen Poor Things. It comes as no surprise seeing Emma Stone being there, and I'm sure if I saw Poor Things tomorrow, I would absolutely agree with her nomination. But the one I haven't seen aside from Emma Stone is Annette Bening and Nyad, and I like how that list looks, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't feel too strongly about Margot Robbie being excluded either way. She's also been nominated a couple times already, and for I, Tonya and Bombshell, she's put in like great work at a very early age too. She came into the game pretty early.
22, 21,
22, 23, and she's accomplished a lot. So
I think honestly, a bigger snub for her performance-wise would be like from Babylon.
Yeah, like, I think so too. She had one of the best performances last year.
Yeah,
she get nominated for it. Yeah, you're right. So, but she's still nominated as a producer in Barbie.
Yeah,
so
she's got a chance to win gold.
Yeah. All right, best supporting actor. We got Sterling K. Brown, American Fiction, Robert De Niro, Killers of the Flower Moon, Robert Downey Jr., Oppenheimer, Ryan Gosling, Barbie, Mark Ruffalo, Poor Things. There are a couple of surprises, I guess. Sterling K. Brown he got nominated for SAG. And he's gotten good reviews for American Fiction, but he didn't show up in certain precursors, but he got in here, and it's actually a pretty fun performance as well, and he kind of steals a lot of his scenes. I was personally rooting for Charles Melton to get in for May December. He was really good.
A lot of people were.
And he was also a big presence early. He had like a lot of groundswell early, then he lost momentum, so I don't really know what happened there, but he's also still young, and he's got time to show up.
Definitely. Again. I think this might be a Zac Efron position that he's in right now.
Yeah, I think so too. Robert De Niro was fine in Killers of the Flower Moon. I'm not really.
I agree. He was fine. I don't think that and I love Robert De Niro, one of my favorite actors of all time. But I think he's got his recognition. I don't know that this is his performance to win, or to lose. He's fine in it. He's Robert De Niro.
And then the Poor Things, from what I heard, Mark Ruffalo's performance is the showier of, because Willem Dafoe is another one that could have got nominated in supporting, and they said that Mark Ruffalo's is the more fun, kind of like out there role compared to Willem Dafoe's is more understated. So they aren't surprised that Ruffalo got in. And then Ryan Gosling for Barbie. I think it's Robert Downey Jr.'s though. I agree at this point. I mean, I guess Ryan Gosling could pull a surprise. I mean, it would kind of be cool to see a comedic performance win, because that never really happens.
No, it does not. I will be throwing chairs if Downey Jr. doesn't win, though. I really want him to win.
I think
it'd be great for him. I've loved it, and he won the Golden Globe, right?
Right, he won the Golden Globe and the Critics' Choice Award, so I think he's on the roll.
Yeah, I think he's slated.
All right,
bringing us the Best Actress in Supporting Role, another Oppenheimer performance with Emily Blunt, Danielle Brooks, I think with the Color Purple's only nomination. Am I right? Yep. America Ferrera, another Barbie performance nominated. Again, we see Nyad in there with Jodie Foster, and then everyone's favorite Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. I think it's pretty stacked for her. I think she's won. I feel like she's won everything. Yeah, she was the QA Quan of this year, right?
Yeah, I think she has, and I think she's got this one too. This, I guess, like the open slots were probably Jodie Foster's maybe, but I think the main open slot was that 5th slot that America Ferrera got.
A lot of surprise from people there. I know she has a good monologue and everything, but I think a lot of people are surprised.
I think that shows the importance of having like that scene in the movie there where you're like, oh, like, well, there's your moment, and that is her moment, and it's good, and it's good. It's a combination of good writing and her delivery on it, and I guess that monologue has resonated right away with people when they saw it, and it quickly went viral after people saw the movie.
I've heard like all about it, having not seen it.
Have you seen the movie?
Yeah.
So it's like it's a huge moment, and I totally respect it. And I think I mentioned on our show, I was like, after she got her See Her award at the Critics' Choice, like her speech was amazing. And someone was like, yo, there are so many Oscar voters, because the voting hadn't closed yet. And they were like, there are so many Oscar voters in that audience that loved her speech. And if they were like on the fence about should they nominate her, they might have chosen that night to throw her in there. You know, I won't go as far as say someone says she's a Jamie Lee Curtis of this year. I don't think that's true. Like Jamie Lee Curtis didn't to me, and I love Jamie Lee Curtis. Yeah. She was fine in that movie, but she wasn't even the best supporting performance in that film. Like Stephanie Hsu was. Like she was like a lot better than her. But America Ferrera, I think it's because other than that moment, everything else is kind of like basic for her in the movie in Barbie. But I mean, you can't like totally not ignore a strong moment though, because a lot of people who have won on like one scene,
one scene alone. That's a phenomenon for sure. This reminds me of Manchester by the Sea with Michelle Williams, and but that being said, her big scene in that movie is amazing. But again, I haven't seen Barbie. I don't know if those performances are apt to be compared, but just like the nature of them having a big scene, a big monologue. The more we go down this list, the more I think like for the Academy voters, when it comes to Barbie, it's like a damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Damn if you don't, if you don't nominate her, right? They're like, you hated her whole speech about women.
Yeah, for so many different categories, I think that's the case. So like, there's a lot of great nominees, and it would be awesome to have Barbie in there for some of them. And if you don't have it, then you're going to be shunned either way. So a lot of, rock and a hard place for the voters when it comes to that movie more than anything else, I think. Which brings us to our first of two screenplay categories. A lot of the similar names here. We got American Fiction, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest, which I think snuck in there.
I think it's stuck in there. And I think what a lot of people were like, where's Killers of the Flower Moon? Because
there's the big snub. Yeah.
So that's a snub, right? But I think what happened here, either Zone of Interest took its spot, or the fact that Barbie moved from original screenplay to adapted screenplay took its spot. Because it campaigned all season for original, and then they decided that, I think the Academy decided that, hey, no, it's an adapted screenplay because it's based on an IP and it's not like an original. And that's a real slippery slope, I think.
I agree. That's a decision that I wasn't really that supportive of, and I'm sure a lot of Scorsese fans are probably going to blame Barbie for that. Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, it's got 10 nominations, though. Does it need that? And even then, I don't know if it will. I don't know what I think will win. I don't really know if I have identified a clear favorite.
I kind of think if they don't want to piss people off, they're like, okay, let's give this to Greta Gerwig so she gets something for Barbie. But one of the guys I follow on Twitter was like, there's a wordy like historical biopic like Oppenheimer is prime to win an award like that, and like to not count that out.
I can see.
Someone also said don't count American Fiction, but that script is really good too. It's really
I'm
funny.
Looking
and
forward
it's
really
to
seeing that. I can see the headlines right now if Oppenheimer wins in any of these major categories over Barbie, and Barbie gets shut out or doesn't win anything like significant, like if it only wins like song or something, or even a technical. I can just see
just win. That's it,
right? Yeah. Oh my god. Or if like, if Oppenheimer will clearly win in a few of its categories, it has to. And if Barbie doesn't get anything like those major awards, it would be so fitting for the themes of Barbie for that to erupt into like chaos online. I'm just like predicting that now, but pitchforks, chairs thrown, riots,
and then the original screenplay category: Anatomy of Fall, The Holdovers, Maestro, May December, Past Lives. So that was the only nomination for May December. I'm really curious to see if you'll like it. I mean, I really liked it. I think
I'm
the
not
problem
in,
with May.
Yeah, I'm thinking
I think
will.
the problem with May December, what happened was one. I think the confusion where it's like they kept trying to label it a comedy and it's not, even though
why was that being labeled a comedy?
There is some like funny satirical moments, right? And I think I actually posted it. This one girl said that the reason why she thinks the Academy like really ignored it, and I kind of agree with her. She said, on the other hand, I do think it's very funny that Todd Haynes and Natalie Portman gagged the entire industry so hard with a movie about self-serious artists thoughtlessly mining real trauma for the sake of a shitty biopic art. That same industry was too thin-skinned to nominate them because Natalie Portman plays an actress that goes and is basically shadowing this woman she's playing, and that woman is someone who, when her current husband was, a minor, she had sex with him and was arrested for it, went to jail, and then when she got out, they got back together, had kids. It's basically loosely based on a real life story.
Too close to Hollywood's real.
And some people think that was really like, too much for them, which is why because critics loved it. And I guess it's the example of like critics loving something and Academy voters not loving it.
Right.
But I love that it still got into the original screenplay category because the script is really good. But from what I'm hearing, like I want to root for the holdovers, but everyone, it's like,
dude, past lives.
I know another group of people were saying like we have to give Celine Song something, and that should be it, right?
There's another directing snub. Having just come off that watch, that movie was phenomenally directed. I put in my Letterboxd review one of the best screenplays of all time. Like I really, really, and it's subtle. It's not very rambunctious. It's just so true to life in a way that you won't understand until you watch it and know what I'm talking about. But if I think that is like something that I would definitely throw my weight behind for winning original screenplay would be Celine Song, and one of several nominees where the director also wrote their own movie. So that's another reason to get behind it. That's great.
Also, I still like. I mean, after us talking about it, I feel like I am going to watch Past Lives tonight after this. But of the ones that I've seen, I feel like Maestro would be the only one I'm like, oh well. I mean, not entirely stoked on that screenplay being there,
right?
But the other ones, the other ones feel very strong though. So, but yeah, this is one that and I think when Barbie got out of there, it made room for something like a May December to jump into the original when Barbie like exited that category.
That's a good point.
So, and that's that movie's low nomination. So
well, good for it. I'm excited
what I can get.
Excited to see what I think of that screenplay for sure. But I'm interested to see what you think of the Past Lives screenplay. I don't want to hype it up too much. It was just so amazing. I loved every minute.
Like crying alone in my room.
That's what I was doing. Oh man, it was a fucking heart grabber. I guess this takes us to one of our last categories. I mean, there's several others too. We're not doing too many of the technicals and stuff, but we got best animated feature. I think would be one worth dissecting. To me, this comes down to two. I don't know. I haven't seen.
I think so.
Three of them in here, but The Boy and the Heron, which is where I'm leaning. Hayao Miyazaki. Elemental, which was Pixar's effort from last year, which I thought was like maligned. Was it not?
It got okay reviews.
Maybe I just read the bad ones.
I think the big story was it opened beneath expectations, and they thought it was a flop, and it actually ended up getting good word of mouth down the line, and it kind of stayed around longer than they thought it would. And they want to try. I guess they want to include Disney somehow in this category. So
why I don't know, but whatever. Robot Dreams I had not heard of. That was nominated for best animated feature. Yeah, and then that is the fourth, and then Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which was snubbed in a major category. I mean, it would have been insane for not to be included in this category. Glad to see it there, but it did not get a nomination for score, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, Dale Pemberton's score is really good. It's one of the best of the year.
I guess he's never been nominated by the Academy. I heard in another video.
Yep. Shame. And I'm just gonna throw it out there that John Williams took that spot, and I know John Williams is like, and I know John Williams is the GOAT, but there's nothing about that Disney score that sounds like anything that should be nominated this year.
No, I agree. No shame or no what's the word, shade for John Williams. He's one of the absolute greats, but I saw that, and again I think that is just them pandering to Disney and trying to give it something. the fact that Dial of Destiny can say it's an Oscar-nominated movie pisses me off.
It's crazy. And you know, someone made a good point too. They felt it got snubbed in score. There were some people that thought it got snubbed in picture. I mean, I would have been surprised to see it there because it was one of the best reviewed movies of last year.
Yeah, you know what? I wouldn't have been mad about it.
There was a comment made that like that it just comes down to the industry still not taking animation seriously as like a serious film medium, and like that could be kind of true because like why just give it acknowledgement in the animated feature category when it could have gotten recognition in Best Picture. I don't know. I guess that's another round of debate that people could have. I don't know how I feel about it. I will say the big snub was the score though. It should have been nominated for that. And again, John Williams has made some of the best scores ever. It just,
of course,
this felt like
that's not one of them. Yeah,
it felt like a career score.
Does he really need his like 10th nomination or whatever it was? And he's already won several, like 5. I think he's won 5 Oscars for his score. So
you know,
not that should discount you, but still,
it shouldn't. But when I saw that, I was like, okay.
Yeah, no,
and then I was like, that was like, how much of that score was new? I was trying to remember like how you asked me that earlier, and I can't remember how much that score was new or how much it was just reused. From like the other one.
Like I'm sure like it's some Frankenstein's monster between the scores from the original movies and maybe a little different chord here and there, but whatever. It's up in the category over Spider-Man, but oh well. Cinematography next.
Is that on
all you? Yep.
Is it El Conde for best cinematography?
I had not even heard of that one.
Me either. Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Poor Things. I feel like Oppenheimer's going to take all these technical ones. I guess like the one. Let's see what I was trying to think of. What technical one won't it take? Because I'm just scrolling. It might not get production. It might not get production design. I think Barbie might get production design.
Yeah,
they created a very elaborate world
for sure
for that film.
I wouldn't be mad about that,
and I don't think it's gonna get. It's also Oppenheimer's also in costume design. I think Barbie gets that too. I think Barbie's gonna get a lot of the like production, costuming stuff, but sound, cinematography. It did not. It wasn't considered for visual effects at all. So that wasn't going to be a thing, even though it got nominated in other award shows for visual effects.
Wait, Oppenheimer wasn't?
That's
wasn't. Crazy.
But I will say Godzilla -1 pulled one.
I was happy for that. That's effects. Great.
And I really love seeing that team's reaction to hearing that news. That video was really.
Really I didn't
cool
see that.
Because you could see it, you could tell how happy they were, like genuinely happy they were to get it.
They deserve it with the budget that they made. Had with that movie, $15 million. That was one of the best looking movies from last year, especially considering like the effects on Godzilla. I think another big snub that is going a little bit under the radar for the visual effects category is Poor Things.
Probably
a lot. I don't feel like the Academy really gives enough recognition for its like practical effects. I guess it did a few years ago with Shape of Water. I don't know if it won visual effects. It won Best Picture though. But, Anyway, that is definitely something that was overlooked, I think. But again, a strong year for effects. But on the topic of cinematography, though, one I haven't seen El Conde or even a shot from that movie, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But the one movie I think is really missing from here, Saltburn. Really love cinematography.
It looked great, and some people did nominate for it. Ahead of this,
there's some great shots in that movie.
So that movie got 0 nominations. I just think it's too salacious and polarizing, and the Academy is like, it's gross. I mean, I think there has a lot to do with that.
Yeah, it did great at the BAFTAs, so good for it.
Another one that missed is All of Us Strangers, which I hear is also really great.
I've heard great things too.
0 nominations. I'm trying to think of else. We already talked about the Iron Claw, got 0. The Color Purple only got 1, and I think that just comes down to competition. Because I think any other year a big kind of grand musical like that would get acknowledged in Best Picture, especially with like Oprah Winfrey and Steven Spielberg produced it. But I guess they're like, hey, he produced Maestro, so there you go. There's your acknowledgement.
And one I'm just thinking of that I have not heard shouted out at all today. And I don't know if this is like that contentious, but like something that at the beginning of the year I would have thought might have been up for a lot of Oscars. Wonka. No, nothing, no production.
Nothing for that. I guess it could have gotten like a lot of production stuff too. Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking, technicals.
Technical stuff.
Editing, maybe. Oh, The Killer being absent from editing. I don't think The Killer got any nominations either.
That's right.
Even the cinematography
editing would have been something you could have been up for. Yeah.
Would have liked that. I wanted to give love to the creator too, which I think I got 2 nominations. One for visual effects, which was great. That movie's still in my top 10 of the year, and sound. I think, yeah. So good for the team. The creator. I'm glad it got some recognition, and it can slap that dual Oscar nominee title on their physical media releases, and it deserves it. That movie was amazing.
Yep. And I'm just wondering if they're gonna make Ryan Gosling perform his song at the Oscars.
I'm sure he's
usually do.
Yeah.
I mean, usually they have them do it. Yeah, that'd be really fun. Probably. I mean, I would wonder if he would do it live, because I mean, it's different like doing it for the movie and
right.
all that, because it's a little bit more. You can cut around stuff and
I think it'd be a fun moment. Great. Yeah,
definitely.
It would probably have viewership.
It will remind me of when Robin Williams, he did Blame Canada from the South Park movie when that was nominated for Best Original Song, and I thought it was really cool that because Trey Parker and Matt Stone were going to do it, and Robin Williams did it, and that was a really fun moment from back in the day Oscars when the Academy was fun and nominated a song for the South Park movie.
That is kind of fun, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, I'm trying to think of.
The only other thing I think that I wanted to touch on is Napoleon somehow sneaked out three nominations. One for visual effects. What else did it get? Best production design, which I can totally see. There's a lot in that production, and any Ridley Scott movie, I think that should be a secured nomination. And what else did it get? I know we got 3.
Another technical one, I think. Let me see.
Costume design.
There we go.
Yeah, that's pretty. There's some great costumes in that movie. Even that would have been one. Cinematography, I think, could have. It's a strong year, but it could have gotten more. I'm not surprised that it didn't get any of like the big categories, but
agreed.
Yeah, still stuck out 3. But
yeah. Well, there are Oscar nominations, guys.
Yeah, there you guys have it. Catch the ceremony March 10th, and Gaius, you'll know more than I will who's hosting them. I know Jimmy Kimmel's hosting, but
Jimmy Kimmel's hosting it. It's gonna be on ABC that's gonna be live coast to coast from the Dolby Theater at the Ovation in Hollywood.
An hour earlier this year.
It's gonna be on an hour earlier than it normally is. So at 4 o'clock, I guess Pacific time, until it's supposed to run from 4 to 7:30, and then of course you guys do all your little conversions for if you live somewhere else.
Yeah, it'll be 8 o'clock my time.
Yeah. And I will be watching it live from home. So I'm assuming Jackson will also be watching it.
Oh, definitely.
Live from home. And then we will, of course, report on all the winners. We have a few other award shows to report winners on before the Oscars, though. Like, it's so weird that there's a lot of time between the nominations and the show because we have to get
time
through
to
February.
Get those watches in,
yeah, you got time to get them in. But yeah, we still have the results from the DGA and the PGA and SAG to get through, so we'll have those winners too. But yeah, those are your Academy Award nominations. I mean, when this episode goes live, we can, I guess, ask you guys if even though I already asked a few of you on G Reels if you guys were happy with some of the results. Some of you were, some of you weren't. That's such as life every year.
Be interested to see the discourse for sure.
Yeah, but we will definitely report on everything that comes about, and if there's more discourse, we'll report on that too. I'm hoping that maybe it'll subside, but I kind of doubt it will.
Yeah, we'll see. I really don't know what direction everything's gonna go, but definitely got some watches to get in here now. I'm gonna hopefully by the time we meet next week, I'll have a few more of those big watches in where there's lots of nominations, so we'll have lots to chat about next week. And God, I can't wait for Poor Things to get here, so hopefully we both get to see that here soon.
Yeah, me too. All right. Well,
all right,
you gotta wrap us on up.
Yeah, that's it, guys. Thanks for tuning in, listening to us chat about the Oscar nominations. And like we said, check out the ceremony happening on March the 10th and try and get in as many of those watches as you can. Let us know too on our social media. We'll have some stories for you guys to engage with over the next few days. Let us know what you thought about today's, or I guess probably yesterday's by the time you're hearing this, Oscar nominations. And we'll catch you next week when we have our regular scheduled programming. Take care, guys, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.